gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? Your head table to you. Dennis Cowrie, would you please stand, Dennis? And hold your applause until all have been introduced. Jerry Shadland has come close. Harry Dingle is here someplace. Harry Dingle? Here. No. Jim Hogan, the president of our club. Kim Black, our honorary captain. John Millard. Would you please welcome our guests? We're waiting for the jury. I'm going to ask John Millard to come up. He has a little presentation he wants to make.
Thanks, Jim. This is not so much a presentation as a sort of a recognition of things that have happened. All of you are familiar with the fact that this is 1994. During the 12 days of Christmas of 1924, which is some 70 years ago, a lady of excellent repute happened to be bearing a child which was about to be born. Now, this was not normally called for very much attention, except that it is 70 years ago for a person. Now, there were 3 extraneous people involved. An accountant and 2 doctors. I understand that Dr. John McLean and Dr. Bill Bean, actually had an argument as to whether either of them should be blamed for what was about to transpire. And they also called on Peter Stanley in the days when he worked and knew what he was doing with the figures to think in terms of tax implications. But the end result was that there was an enormous hassle as to whether or not the child from this unit should be born before or after midnight on January 1st, 1995. As it transpired, nature, as it has a habit of doing, took control, and on December 29th, a very young man was born. As it happens, that same young man is now entered into our great union here of super seniors as our newest, you'll forgive the expression, rookie. And Kenneth Pedler, I would like you to know, arrived on December 29th, 1924, which makes him at this moment only 69 years old. Nonetheless, he competed amongst we seniors group today. And we all went badly for that matter, but I don't want to talk about what he did. I'm trying to sort of squash him down to the level that he belongs to, which is recognition by all of us that yes, he's one of us, but only just Now, as a result of this, I'd like Mr. Ken Pedro, if he would, to kindly advance in front of me here in the microphone, because I want to tell him something. Years ago, of accompanying Mr. Pedro on a tour out of Ireland, which was not even a shop, which was allowed to gave him the opportunity to show just how poor a citizen he is. But we wanted to give him a little presentation, but nonetheless the presentation had to be sort of in keeping with this bit acknowledging that he's only just in. So it's not what you would call a really sort of dignified, long-lasting presentation. It has more to do with the sort of a juvenile character of the guy that I'm giving it to. And this, Mr. Pedro, is from your now peers. How lucky you should consider yourself to so regard yourself. But we now welcome you as, and we will even give you a title, as the rookie with the most promise for the years to come.
Well, nice to be back again, fellas. A lot of these guys around here said, are you going to give us another one of those long talks and everything? And I said, no. I talked to you 2 years ago, and then I talked to you again. You've forgotten what I told you. I've forgotten what I told you, and I'm not going to give you any more. Last year, they made me honorary captain of the super seniors, of which I'm very proud. I haven't done the same thing. But however, tonight, my first official duty is to make a nice presentation. Can you hear? No. Oh, fine, okay, I'll shut up. Tonight, I'm going to make a nice presentation to a young man who today celebrates a new year in life. And he's out of a job and he hasn't got much to do. He doesn't play as much golf as he used to. So, in all due respect and with a lot of consideration, the super seniors have decided to make Mr. Harry Dingle your new captain or honorary starter for all of the super seniors. I have a little presentation for him. He is actually his badge of honor, so I'd like him to open it. Sure.
Looks lovely, Harry. It's a box of chocolates. You hope. Thank you, Ken. I am greatly honored, especially to be here tonight among many of my old friends, and I'm riding free, and you're all paying for it.
What is it? Stand up, Harry. If you can.
What's nice was? Just a minute. I don't think that's what it is. Here it is. It's a starter pistol.
Well, this was a pretty bad day. Happy birthday to
Happy birthday, dear Harry. Happy birthday to you.
Gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? We're having a little delay here in dessert, and I think we want to fill the time, so Peter has agreed to do what he's going to do right now. I think most you know that Peter has been a long-term person with the club. He was joined the club in 1954. 52. Thanks.
He was 80 in 1952.
He doesn't even know really what year he did.
Yeah, I don't think
before. Anyways,
you didn't know.
he was a past president. He is a past president of the company and chairman of the company. Do you want to say?
Jim wants to get rid of me, and I don't blame him. Seeing Kenny Black here reminds me of something. If I don't say anything sensible tonight, and I hope that in the company of good friends one can be forgiven. On April the 1st, 1955, the members of this golf club bought the club from the Guinnesses. 4 people signed the agreement: Perry Willoughby and Bob McFarlane for the British properties, Bill McMahon and Kenny Black on our behalf. I have a little trouble with the service. There's a couple of years ago, I forget his name, somebody in Golf Magazine said golf is a game where you shout 4, score 6, and write down 5. And I don't know if the story about the break-in at Dave Harper's house 2 weeks ago has reached the club yet, has it? No. Well, this guy had been scouting the movements of David and Enid for quite a while. And he, out of great kindness, invited Enid up to the club for dinner because he wanted to use up his MSC. In fact, it was, being a brown bagger, the party was for 16. Anyway, after they left the club, this guy saw that they'd left an upstairs window open. He got the ladder out, went in, fell into the room in complete darkness, and as he was picking himself up, he heard a voice saying, "Jesus is watching you." And he heard it several times. So he got his pencil light out and he flashed it all around the room. And here was a parrot in a cage. And he said to the parrot, "Is your name Jesus?" He said, "No." well, what's your name? He said, Bartholomew. He said, that's a funny name for a parrot. He said, a funny name for a parrot? How about Jesus Christ for a Rottweiler? A while ago, I was talking to young Bill McClellan, and we got talking about Capilano. And I said to him, your father and your Uncle Jack must have come over as charter members from Jericho. And he said, no, that never happened. He said, they were members at Shaughnessy. And I said, well, how come they got to be charter members at Capilano? And he said, well, when the club was being built, Capilano Timber, which the McClellans owned, were the big logging lumber show on the North Shore, for some reason were idle. I don't know whether it had to do with fire season or strikes or maybe the municipality interfering. But they had a D8 that was sitting there idle, and maybe it was Stan Conway, who was the engineer in charge of construction of the golf clubs, who went to them and said, you've got this D8 and you can't do anything with it. We need a D8 because anybody who's looked at the pictures of this golf club and its start, a D8 would have been a great thing. So the McClellans lent them a D8, and that's why they became charter members. I thought they'd all come from Jericho, except for those few wealthy people who were the first to join the club, apart from Kenny. Now, I have great concern about saying anything about the origins of the club or the history of the club in the presence of people here who certainly know a hell of a lot more about it than I ever will. But, and Jim has asked me to talk particularly about the two-tier system that we used to have, which was such an anathema to so many people. As Eric Whitehead says in his book, this was a condition of serfdom imposed on the members of this club by the Guinness family. And that is certainly true in a sense. As you know, when we bought the club in 1955, we did so by paying an amount of cash, $475,000 by assumption of mortgage, and whatever it takes to make the 375 cash to make up the 850,000. But they had serious restrictions on the mortgage, and one of them being that we must have a company that was not going to be run by a democratically elected committee of any bloody golf club. And I think that the genesis of these requirements goes back to 1948, when after 10 years we had a golf club. And the golf club was completely under the thumb of the British properties, but in an informal sense. There was nothing written down. But then, as Eric Whitehead says in his book, in 1948, this is what was required of the members of this golf club, and I think that this is what gets reflected into our having a company as well as a committee. The owner, which is the British properties, shall be solely responsible, and I'm sorry if I'm saying things that you know only too well. The owner shall be responsible for all expenditures in connection with the club, and all entrance fees, annual dues, and other payments by members shall forthwith upon payment become the property of the owners. No accounts, bills, obligations, liabilities, or contracts shall be incurred or entered into by the club, and no expenditure shall be made by the club without the approval of the owners. The owner shall have complete control of the finances and of the management and salaried staff of the club, and shall have the right to select, appoint, and from time to time replace the secretary manager. The club shall promptly, upon request by the owner, take such action, call such meetings, and procure the proposal, seconding, and passage of such resolutions and of such bylaws as the owner from time to time requests in order to carry out and make effective the provisions of the agreement. They also had in that 1948 agreement a clause that said under no circumstances could we, the members, and I wasn't one, sell the club without their approval. And they also had a clause that said that they, upon giving notice to the members, could sell the club, and or they could continue to lease, so that they could sell the club if they wished on giving notice, which of course they did in 1955. I was present at the meeting, as many of you were, in the Hotel Georgia in January 1955, when we were invited to buy the club or not. Because by that time, formal notice had been given by the British Properties. I must say that before that time, although the Guinness people had the right simply on the giving of something like 3 months' notice, put the club on the alert that they might have to buy the club or that the lease might not be renewed. They came along to the then committee and said, look, we may not want to renew your lease. We just want to give you a lot of time to think about this, because we know it's a big problem for us. There's a lot of money going to be involved. And so people like Dan McLean and Patty Bowers and Bill McMahon knew before they gave formal notice that there might be a problem, so that they could go around and talk to people and find out whether the members of this club could raise $150,000, which is peanuts today. As Cam McLean said, the biggest deal since Manhattan. But for the members of that day, it certainly wasn't. Now, there are a lot of things in there, Whitehead's book, that I disagree with, and it may be because I don't understand them well enough. I think that in speaking about the difficulties that the members had, and that people like Bill McMahon and Dan McLean and Patty Barris and others who were involved had to contend with, I think the chronology of a lot of things he says is probably wrong, because he speaks about people buying shares before we even had that meeting in the Georgia Hotel, which is where the members first decided that they were going to buy the company and therefore buy shares. It doesn't say anything about the fact that in addition to buying shares at $500, each man member had to buy a $300 debenture with no interest forever, and each woman member had to buy a $100 debenture. In any event, it happened. But I think that the reason that we had the two-tier system was because the Guinnesses wanted to make sure that while slobs like me might be elected by a committee, they wanted to make sure there were a bunch of people around, make sure the mortgage was going to be paid off. And that, of course, happened. And it wasn't immediately that the board of directors of the company was disposed of. It was about 4 or 5 years later, 1980, I think 1980, 1979 or 1980. The mortgage was burned in 1975. Anyway, so much for that. When Jim asked me to talk about this, I had a look at the roster and I wondered how many members there were in the Georgia Hotel in 1975 who were still members of the club. And there happened to be 55.
Good.
Of whom 19 were full play, and the others fit into all sorts of other categories, senior, social, and so on, but there are that many. Of all the people that Eric Whitehead mentions in his book, who had anything to do, no matter how peripheral, with the negotiations to buy the club from the Guinnesses, the only person whose name I could find who still plays this golf course is David Moore. Thank you.
Peter, I think we all appreciate that very much. I'd like to get on with the evening now, and we want to do the prizes for today. Kenny, would you mind doing the honors? Jerry? I want to say, first of all, that we thought we were getting awfully lucky. We rained most of the morning and stopped in time for us to play golf. And we were faced with quite a hard decision because we had to tell the chef by 11 o'clock whether we were going or not, so he wouldn't take the dinner out of the freezer. And so by 11 o'clock I was quite happy. I told him, go ahead, it's cold. And I thought we were gone for the day, but unfortunately I guess the rainstorm we had about just before the end was probably one of the worst I've ever seen, and I think most of you have not seen water flow like it flowed down the stairs of the way to the clubhouse and the 18th hole and whatever. So we had to make a little adjustment of what we were going to do today. Normally we would have had a team prize, but we couldn't collect all the cards. Some of them got too wet, some of them weren't turned in. And we also couldn't provide a consolation winner, which we planned on doing. And so in consultation with my Jerry and John Millard and David Harper, we decided that for the team prize, we would make a draw of everybody that was in the draw, and whoever name is drawn, that team will win the team prize.
Good. That was good.
Jerry?
Look at you, Black, you draw the right thing. Shake it up, shake it up.
Jim Green. Peter Stanley, Tom Rayfield, and Jim Gallagher.
Oh, no, no! No way! Oh, my God. Oh. The worst golfers in the club. Exactly.
If you don't get up here, we'll redraw.
Hey!
Really good.
The worst player. Not you! Oh, no!
Here's the
Jack Gallagher is not here.
The next prize that we're going to make is the consolation winner. We had planned that there would, Mr. Green, would you sit down? We had planned to have 3 winners in the consolation flight, and so these are individual prizes, and we'll now draw 3 names. The first one will receive 1 dozen balls, the second one 9 balls, and the third one 6 balls.
Balls to you.
This table is going to be ostracized. Archie Houston.
Oh, no, no way. Yeah, we're not doing very well.
Second prize, Frank Wade.
I put your name in, George.
Mark Bolton, third prize. Okay, sit down now. The aggregate trophy. This is probably one of our premier events with which 3 of their legs count for the aggregate. This year our trophy winner was Ron Farragut, our aggregate winner. He won the aggregate by 1 stroke over Jack Tam. Come on up, Jack. The second runner-up was a tie. Les Meek and Ken Pedlow tied for 3rd place. Good. Come up.
Oh, yeah, look at
The premier event now is the John Caston Trophy. The second runner-up today was Ron Claryhill. Ron Claryhill, will you come up?
Oh, he was second.
He had 31 points and he became third by retrogression. The second runner-up, Don Carmichael, is not here tonight. He also had 31
Did
points.
he play today?
He played today. And the winner of the John Chanston Trophy is Doug Morrison with 34 points.
Good evening, gentlemen. As my dear old daddy used to say, spirits and wine loosen the lips. So you gotta put up with a few comments from my children. First of all, let me talk about my costume. All right. The jacket, in case you don't know, is an honor accorded to past presidents of the party. It's the McKinnon dress plaid. Now, there are other gentlemen in the room entitled to wear the jacket. I don't know why they're not doing on this occasion. But now there's something else that everybody in the club can wear, and that is the club tie. And I commend it to you, gentlemen. It's available in 3 colors. And I think for a function such as this, it would be very nice if everybody was wearing a club tie. Relax, Jim, you gotta put it. Now, the other comment I would like to make before we get on the presentation to our worthy champions is that I'm gratified to see the manner in which the Super Senior Championship is being accepted. It seems to me that 2 to 3 years ago, there were 70-year-olds who seemed to feel sort of reluctant about admitting they had reached this magnificent age. Furthermore, those of the lower handicaps wondered whether they should associate with us common.
I've had the same problem.
But I believe that is passing. And as the years go by, I think we will see a growing attendance at this function. Sir, Doug, where's Doug?
Right here.
Doug, I'm sorry to kept you waiting. Certainly, you are a worthy champion, Doug. You are joining a list of other distinguished golfers, and we wish you success in years to come, and I congratulate you.
He'll never win it again.
John, thank you very, very much. I'm indeed very pleased with this honor. I think we all owe a vote of thanks to Jim Cameron, to John Millard, and to David Harper for all the work they've done through the year. And thank you very much.
Hey, that's great. Do you have to take it back or in the air?
I'd like to present some other prizes, but I want to do it not for people that won it because through golf, but people that helped our committee with getting the results, getting the people out, and helping us in so many ways. The people that phone you and ask you if you're going to play and if you're going to be at the dinner are the people that I want to recognize. Bill B., John Bell, Art Fulton, Ken Forrest, Reg Meek, John Millard, Norma Paquette, and I'd like you to come up now and we'd like to give you a little gift.
The Beach Boys are never run out and find get some more white wine. How about this? All right, Gordy. The Beach Boys
I have one other person that I would like to recognize, and that is David Harper. For all of you who have come up to the club, and seen the beautifully designed draw that appears on the board, this is David's work. And when the results are known, it's David that puts these results up. I computed them, but David did all the work in getting them up to the club and putting on the board. He also has been part of our committee, and he's been invaluable to our committee. David, would you come up and accept this group?
I can't, I'm taking the picture.
Of course, it's just been wonderful, David. And we thank you very much for all the help you've given us. I also like to thank Jerry. It's awfully nice to have you here tonight, President. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, very good.
Gentlemen, I'll be very brief. I think tonight that if the young members of this golf club could see what goes on in this room, we would want to be there sooner. You have more fun, you really enjoy your golf, and we're really proud that you built the base that we're going to continue to follow. Thank you so much. Good luck.
I would like to say something, only I'm saving it for the annual meeting.
I wonder if Jim's going to remain silent from this point on. We're not going to have a brief business meeting so that you can give us your ideas of what we're doing. If what we're doing is right, if you think of some other way we could achieve the goals that we're trying to get to. We this year had 5 legs. So 4 of them were for the aggregate. You had to get 3 out of 4 that you could count. And then we had the final day, which was, was for the John Shaston Trophy, and that was an individual on par points, stable points. And we'd like to know if that's what you think that we should continue to do. Someone want to speak to that?
Yeah, I will.
There has been a suggestion that the Shaston trophies should be awarded to the person that wins the aggregates if he files a record over three different weeks, and his total is for 3 different weeks, whereas the present system is the Shaston trophy is on one day. I wonder what your comments would be on that.
Better one day.
My comment,
Better one day.
my comment, why don't we Mr. Shaston make his recommendation?
Here. 3 days.
Let him do it.
Gentlemen, I appreciate the compliment. I see this as a compliment. The terms of reference for Turn it up, John.
Turn it on.
The terms of reference submitted to the committee or to the board at the time of the awarding of the trophy was that it would be in accordance with the decision of the match committee of the club of the day. And accordingly, I don't think it's appropriate for me to make any comment.
Okay, John, great. That's great. So it's number one at the tail end.
Beg pardon?
It's number one at the tail end. It's the final.
No, that's the way you want to leave it?
Leave it that way.
The other question that I would like to bring before you is that we found a little bit this year that stretching it into September was a little much, that we weren't quite sure of the weather, and also the fact that you're playing 2 weeks after you play the last leg. I wonder what you would think about if we only had 4 legs and the banquet would take place in August instead of September.
The weather's not as good as that time.
No, actually, you're speaking. Thomas Wakefield.
What's this leg business?
You mean you want to have just 4 times, ending in August with a banquet in August?
All you need.
Anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, I like it the way it is right now.
Here,
How many like it the way it is?
here. Here.
Thank you very much. We'll keep it the way it is. This sort of brings to a close, not quite to a close, but I just want to say that I've enjoyed being your captain this year. I've enjoyed the cooperation I've got from all of the super seniors and also the committee I worked with and the staff, of course. And I think that the super seniors is one of the best functions that we have in the club.
Here, here.
I can remember when I was approached by Ken Newberry when I was vice president. He asked me if we could have the super seniors. And I said, well, do you mean to have, do we have that many that would like to play? I said, how many do we have? And he said, I don't know, we might have 20. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think you've got 20. But anyway, they took it to the board, and the board decided that they would try it for 1 year, and they really thought it might fall flat in its face. Well, you know what happened? It's been a roaring success. This year we had 66 people sign up to play. And I think that was about the same amount as last year. So I just say it's a very successful...
You started this.
It's a very successful tournament, and I would hope that you would keep it going, and everybody, the seniors, will certainly enjoy it. Now, before I give away the microphone, I want to introduce you to your captain next year. It's going to be John Millard. John has been a great help to me during the year, and I've appreciated what he's done. Do you want to say something, John?
You started something.
Oh, boy. Now I've got you. Not for a long time have I had the opportunity to speak, and you've got to listen. I'll get you on, I promise you. First of all, let me tell you that your vice captain next year will be Fred Mitchell, Dr. Fred Mitchell. He prowled around my mouth for many, many years. He's an old friend, as a retired dentist, and I'm sure you're aware who he is and what he does. This sudden elevation to a position of executive authority comes somewhat unexpectedly. It's perhaps somewhat typical of the way in which this organization works. Certainly it's typical of the way Jim Cameron works. He sort of wrote me in partially, would you mind giving me a hand for a short time? The next thing I know, I'm stuck. But I must say that the fun and the participation I've had with a lot of you in organizing this thing doesn't make it feel as though it's really going to be stuck very badly. But I do have the very pleasant duty, since Jim has now sort of shoved it onto my shoulders, first of all, moving to him a very hearty vote of thanks for what he has accomplished this year.
Here, here. Here, here.
May I take it that represents somebody seconding the motion?
Here, here.
Okay, we just happen to have a small little something down here that we want to give Jim.
Give him 3
As
golf
a
balls.
memento of his term. Now, it's not a rock wall, but it's had a flash. Oh, damn. This thing has beautiful. Get off. Let him open it himself. And on top of it goes a card, which I'm sure, if anybody hasn't signed it and you want to, just tell him, oh, the hell with it, my signature's on there too. We got most of you tonight while Cameron wasn't looking, but I'm sure one or two of you might have missed, in which event you may take it for granted that your signature and well wishings are included.
Here.
So James, thank you very much indeed for a good year, and I look to you right now for considerable assistance in the 12 months to come. I ask the women that you are now ready to accept the motion of adjournment. If nobody wants to adjourn, does somebody want to say something else?
Adjourn.
We want to see what Aaron got.
What the hell is it?
We stand adjourned whether you like it or not.
Somebody got 46 once the British Open, and he gets $400. Oh, John Moe, £100.
We had him for dinner the other day.
Oh, did you?
I
got his book slipping
Oh, you got his book slipping?
Oh, yeah. I've known him for a long time. Think about Jock. Tell Jock retired. He never... What was going on? Nothing going on.
Even after he retired, he was made a living in the 20s and 30s. I guess